Then I think if it's okay, I'd like to jump to the other end of the table and introduce our friend Jessie, who I've just met. Jessie Descartes, is that your name?
Deocares.
Deocares, sorry. So Jessie is studied electrical engineering, and he's a self-described simple man. And so I don't know him very well, so I'll just hand over to you.
Although it is purpose to ease governance of church members,
Microphone on?
the Cheon Constitution will, in the long run, as I believe, do more
Raymond?
than offer benefit. The imposition of religious laws in a Christian community will only contradict the Christian teaching of love, which is fundamentally one of True Father's teachings. Laws give an impression that they are inviolable, that their violation is rightly meted with condemnation. In contrast, loving others includes knowing how to forgive transgressions. St. Paul himself saw such an adverse effect of religious laws to the governed, saying in Romans 4:15 that laws I'll just move this. St. Paul himself saw such an adverse effect of religious laws to the governed, saying in Romans 4:15 that laws bring wrath. Law transgressors earn the wrath of the law abiders. Laws teach people to be unforgiving, as transgressors of such laws are most likely not to receive forgiveness. At times, forgiveness may come from law abiders to the transgressors, but the law builds up proclivity in the law abiders in order to isolate others who do not abide by such laws, or the transgressors. When a person does not believe in God or in the messiahship of True Father, he is virtually excluded from the realm of Chunilkuk, because the Constitution emphasizes the belief in God and true parents. Buddhism and Confucianism will feel the impact of collective exclusion from the realm of Chunilkuk. Others' non-belief in the church tenets may be forgiven, but exclusion is almost inevitable because of the Constitution. The rejection of embracing others will receive vindication through the Constitution. As a result, the Christian or True Father's teaching of love is thrown out of the window. An embracing citizen of Chunilkuk will become non-existent. Additionally, it is not spiritually healthy to convert spiritual teachings into laws. Neither is it for one to perceive spiritual teachings as laws. This has been proven in the history of Christianity, where advocates employed the Bible as a means to rule their lives. Heliocentrism, the thought that the sun was the center of the universe, was rejected by Christianity because the book of Joshua appears to advocate the thought that Earth was the center of the universe. The death of Galileo, while in house arrest, is credited to this rejection of heliocentrism. The second thought also rejected by Christianity was the theory of evolution, because the book of Genesis narrates a 6-day time period of creation. The theory of evolution only received formal acceptance in the Vatican 100 years after Darwin published The Origin of Species. Even slavery itself, many times advocated by the Christian Church in the Middle Ages, was declared by the Vatican detrimental to the belief in God only in the 1960s. St. Paul finds that in order to prevent the conception of spiritual teachings as laws, Jesus' teaching of love must be followed instead. When love takes over a law, every violation made against that law is forgiven. That's why he said, where there is no law, there is no transgression. St. Paul did not only oppose the imposition of the Jewish law of circumcision to the Gentiles, but also the imposition of Jewish laws to the Gentiles in general. He found the Jewish law detrimental to the spiritual life of the Gentiles and perceived Jesus' teaching of love more useful. The beauty of spiritual teachings, especially of love, is that they create varying thoughts. One spiritual teaching is always open to different interpretations. An example to this is the perfection of God in Matthew 5:46, which says, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." One interpretation of this passage says that God's perfection is about spirituality and religiosity, while another interpretation might find that such perfection of God is about love. That God is perfect because he's able to embrace the good and the evil, sending the rain and shining the sun to them. This proves the variationism of spiritual teachings. We may still be far from appreciating this variationism, but it will, in the near future, hopefully be one of the fundamental tenets of unificationism. A law based on spiritual teachings, such as the Cheon Constitution, is only one interpretation of a spiritual teaching. This will then come opposed to all other interpretations, because being a law, it will reject others. This law, just as the Cheon Constitution is therefore in adversity to the nature of spiritual teachings. It is for these reasons that the creation of the Constitution has to the governed greater adverse effect than beneficial one. Laws are rigid. Love is flexible. Laws are unforgiving. Love forgiving. The Church must not impose laws into its constituencies, but must harness the teaching of love that True Father had left. The Church must govern purely with love and spirituality, and not with a constitution, lest the Church fall into the same pit as the Vatican did.
Thank you very much, Jessie. And I can see that he has a very strong Christian background, and much like a Christian would study carpentry, it seems that Jessie studied electrical engineering like True Father. So would you like to put some questions to our speaker?
Jessie, with all due respect to what you said, Father talked a lot about true love, but he also hinted in that clip that you saw there talk about the necessity for people to live according to law.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the nature of that law a little bit later in the second session. But you did talk a lot about law as well as spirituality and religiosity. Do you feel that you got it wrong? Or?
No, it is right. But the thing is, the Cheon Constitution is a written law. And if it is a written law, it becomes very rigid. If it is violated, then the transgressor will be most likely not forgiven. But if it is a law of the spirit world, let it be not written. Let it only be shining on us. So this Cheon Constitution shouldn't be created, in my opinion.
Okay, next, Peter.
Yeah, I really agree with that point in the level of progress. You know that but in the beginning stages, we need law to control society and to control the nature of the people. So definitely need law in the beginning stages. But if we're looking, what we're talking about, Cheon Guk, is actually an eternal state, which is hopefully we're all going towards. And after you reach a certain level, you don't need the law. And so it would seem then in the beginning stages, this is relevant, like law and even Supreme Council. But actually, if everything is growing, there comes a time when the Supreme Council has been outgrown. And if individually they're able to grow to the same level of being one with God as everybody else, then it will work. But there will be a point when they don't grow as much as the other people who they're supposed to be controlling. And then at that point, they become irrelevant, and then there would be a stop to progress.
Yeah.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, sure. No,
I thought what you said was absolutely brilliant.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
I think in answer to what you said, Peter, it sounds great, but the issue is that once things become institutionalized, it's very difficult to remove or change things. I mean, on your argument, in fact, on the whole argument, we believe in the direct dominion of God, perfection of the individual. If there was one such person, actually we wouldn't need a Supreme Council of 13 people. All we need is one, don't we? So clearly it's a recognition that we haven't reached that position yet, and I think that we have to look at the potential pitfalls because it might actually stop us getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond?
With regards to sovereignty of people, I think we should leave written laws only on the state. It's where there's a territory in it. But being nation under God, we don't have a territory. So we will have law which must not be written. But when it comes to states where there is territory, then we can have laws, state laws, which can govern the people. But for us, as religious organization, we don't have territory, so the law shouldn't be written.
Okay.
When I was thinking about coming here today and spending several hours of my time here, I was thinking, what relevance does the Constitution have to me? And I mean, I see it as having a limited relevance in that the management of assets is important, in as much that I'm concerned about the asset of Lancaster Gate or Cleeve House or whatever. That management certainly needs some proper governance. And so the election of leaders, the election and the control of that kind of management system is really important. So in as much as we can think of the Constitution having a limited remit, then I think there's some value to it. But I think that there's certainly a lot of implications within the wording of the Constitution, which kind of seems to suggest that it's the whole foundation of the kingdom of heaven, which I agree is entirely contradictory. And we pledge to be creating a culture of heart, which I think is far more essential, and that's what you're referring to, and I really support that. But so within a limited remit, it seems to me there is some relevance of a constitution and some sort of regulations, rather than thinking of it as laws that control the whole of life.
Yeah. The Unification Church is a big. It's an international organization. It's worldwide. When it comes to assets, because we are more the what I call centralized the centralized religion. There's one leadership, then it is being controlled, sort of, where these assets should go. Yeah, we cannot prevent that. That's why this constitution is being pushed, because we are a centralized religion. But if that the head is removed, which I'm going too far. When the head is removed, then there's only people who are, the only unification is who are in a certain area will have control of their own assets. Yeah, and there would be no need for a constitution which can control all these assets. Sorry, it's not clear, is it?
Yes.
No. Yeah, because I have other ideas which I do not really want to introduce in this panel, because they're new even to me. I believe that the church should stop being centralized. We have enough seeds that we can plant. We have second generations, third generations, and I think it is not in the near future. It is appropriate for us to not to become a religion, but as a spiritual organization. Yeah, and yeah, I'm still very far from that.
Okay, can we move? I believe Robert had a question too. Robert, can you give the microphone to Robert, please?
It's just more, if the constitution were more pluralistic, would you potentially be in favour of such a thing? If it's, you know, its definition of who's in and who's out wasn't so narrow.
It is difficult for a law to be pluralistic. That's my opinion. So if you put it into a constitution, I don't think it will cover every faith that is in the world. For example, God. If you put God in the constitution, then you are excluding people who do not believe in God. Buddhism do not believe in God. So how are you going to put them? If we have Cheon in here, being governed by constitution, then we are basically excluding Buddhism from it, because it doesn't believe in God.
I believe it's more narrow than that, because people have to believe in true parents to be in Cheon, so it's...
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. But
Okay. Does anybody else have a question? Then we will move on to our next speaker.